Organic Vegetable Gardening, Agricultural Extension Service, University of Tennessee. Publication 1391.
Getting it to the farm.
Organic Vegetable Gardening. Avoid stress. Healthy plants withstand or outgrow problems better than stressed plants. Maintain optimum growing conditions to reduce plant stress whenever possible. Develop soils with proper pH, organic matter content, particle size, particle arrangement, the structure, and fertility, as recommended in the Managing Soil section of this publication. Garden only in locations receiving 6 hours or more of sunlight daily. Side dress with nitrogen-containing fertilizers or compost. Choose a well-drained site or plant on ridges to improve drainage. Plant recommended varieties at recommended dates, planting depths, and spacings. Avoid purchasing plants that have been stressed. See Extension Pamphlet PB 901, Growing Vegetables in Home Gardens, and SP 291-A, Growing Vegetable Transplants for Home Gardens, for specific recommendations. Supplement rainfall with irrigation when necessary. Control weeds while they're small and insects and diseases before they become severe. The result will be vigorous plants better able to withstand occasional stress. Try companion planting. Companion planting is a concept of planting plants together for their mutual benefit. A tremendous amount has been written about companion planting, but very little has actually been proven about its benefits. It's obvious that shade-loving plants in the forest benefit from taller plants that shade them. It seems reasonable that deep-rooted plants absorb nutrients from deep soil layers and deposit them on or near the surface as they decay. These nutrients can be used eventually by shallow-rooted plants. Some plants may benefit other plants by attracting or repelling insects, diseases, or nematodes by scent, color, or various secretions. There is, however, little consensus as to what combinations are beneficial, and specific companion planting recommendations will not be made here. It is known that black walnut trees produce a substance that inhibits growth and causes wilting of many plants. Avoid planting vegetables, especially tomatoes, near black walnut trees. Use intercropping. Raising 2 or more crops in the same area at the same time is called intercropping. Intercropping can reduce a wide range of pest problems. Common examples of intercropping include either pole beans or pumpkins planted with corn, and a cool season vegetable such as lettuce or radishes planted between tomatoes. The cool season vegetables will mature and can be harvested before the tomatoes need the space. Insects seem to recognize large areas of a single vegetable more easily than isolated plants or interplanted combinations of several vegetables. Insects and disease may also spread more slowly when infesting interspersed host or non-host plants than in large areas of only one vegetable. Time plantings carefully. Careful timing of plantings is an excellent way to reduce the severity of some problems. Cutworms, aphids, and root maggots, for example, tend to be more severe in the early spring and decline in severity as temperatures increase and rainfall decreases. Corn, however, usually suffers less damage from corn earworm, European corn borer, and army worms when planted early. The later corn is planted, the more severe the damage from these insect pests becomes. Virus diseases and pickleworms tend to increase with later plantings of vine crops. Know your potential problems and time plantings to avoid them when possible. Time irrigation properly. Many people believe that watering during the hot part of the day causes plants to burn or die. There's very little, if any, evidence that this is true. Watering when it's hot or windy will cause evaporation and waste water, but it's unlikely to directly harm plants. Watering late in the evening may increase disease if plants remain wet at night. Any kind of water application that wets foliage is likely to increase plant foliage diseases somewhat. Trickle, drip, or furrow irrigation conserves water and avoids increased foliage disease problems, but can contribute to root rot problems. Sprinkler irrigation is probably best done during cool, non-windy morning hours. Another common error in timing irrigation is to apply small amounts of water every day or two. This works well when using drip or trickle systems where a small amount of water will soak deeply into the soil. When using sprinkler irrigation, however, apply 1 to 1.5 inches of water at one time, then wait several days until the soil surface dries before irrigating again. Less frequent irrigation will be less likely to increase plant foliage and root diseases, and will not create a shallow layer of moist soil over drier, deeper layers. Plants will then be less dependent on frequent watering for growth and even survival. Provide air circulation. The longer a plant remains wet, the more likely it is to develop a disease problem. Good air circulation is vital if plants are to dry off promptly and avoid undue disease problems. Planting on slight slopes or ridges will help. Morning sun is also important in drying surfaces as soon as possible. Planting at recommended spacings is very important, as are properly pruning and supporting plants off the ground. A pruned and supported tomato, for example, receives better sunlight because of reduced foliage and better air circulation. Fewer aphids colonize the drier plant, and it's easier to spray if sprays are used. The fruit is also held off damp soil and are less likely to rot. If vegetable plants are spaced and properly supported, many problems will be reduced. Use mulches. Mulches may reduce certain pest problems, but can increase others. Mulches reduce plant stress, prevent weed growth, and maintain soil moisture. They may reduce some insect and disease problems as well as increase soil tilth and organic matter. Mulches are discussed more extensively in this publication under the barriers section. Soil section of this unit also contains a discussion of mulches as they affect soils. Extension fact sheet SP 291-H, Mulching Vegetable Gardens, discusses the benefits of mulches and how to mulch gardens with both organic and inorganic mulch. Consider using solarization. Solarization offers one of a few non-chemical possibilities for reducing some soil insects, nematodes, diseases, and weed seeds simultaneously. This procedure requires bare, moist soil and the hottest possible temperatures. The best conditions for solarization are periods of bright sunny weather, which occur generally during long warm days of summer. Begin the procedure in June or early July. To solarize soil, first remove all vegetation. Work the soil as if it were to be planted, and water it with as much water as it will comfortably hold. Cover the saturated soil with a piece of clear plastic, stretched tightly over the soil. Place 1-inch cubes of wood, plastic foam, or empty pop cans on the plastic about a foot apart. Cover the grid with another clear sheet of plastic so you can have 2 sheets of plastic with a 1-inch airspace between them. Seal the edges with soil. Leave the plastic in place 1 to 2 months. During sunny, hot days, the soil temperature should reach 120 degrees Fahrenheit or more at a 2-inch depth, which will reduce the population of many soil pests. If only a single sheet of plastic is used, temperatures will not be as high or stay high as long, and the treatment will be less effective. After solarization, it's very important that soil not be worked deeply. The deeper soil is worked, the more likely it is that disease organisms and weed seeds will be brought to the surface where they will grow. Avoid introducing pest problems. Plant diseases, nematodes, weed seed, and even insects can be carried from place to place on equipment, introduced into the garden with transplants, or moved by insect and human hands. Keep equipment clean. Remove soil from tillers and garden equipment after using them. This is especially important if they're moved between farms, fields, or even parts of the yard. Transplants grown in pasteurized soil or artificial media will be less likely to harbor pests. Purchase transplants certified free of insects and disease if possible. Always inspect transplants for the presence of insects and diseases before purchasing them. Avoid use of tobacco if you grow tomatoes, peppers, or Irish potatoes. Tobacco contains tobacco mosaic virus, which will get on your hands and be spread to plants which you touch. Equipment, insects, or anything touching an infested plant and then another plant is also likely to transfer the disease from plant to plant. Tomato mosaic virus is very hard to control and reduces both fruit set and fruit size. Total yield of tomato mosaic and virus infested plants may be reduced slightly or nearly wiped out. Leaves of infested plants may be distorted and will probably have a mottled appearance rather than solid green color. Remove isolated plants showing these symptoms as soon as they appear. Use plant supports. Plant supports can be an important part of an organic garden. They make plants easier to tend and harvest and extend the harvest season. More importantly, supported vegetable plants have fewer disease and insect problems because of improved air circulation and less contact with wet, disease-infested soil. Tomatoes, English peas, sugar snap peas, cucumbers, and pole beans are some of the vegetables that are commonly grown on supports. These vegetables may be trained on a fence, in a wire cage, or on a trellis. Pole beans may be grouped around individual stakes, or several stakes may be pulled together at the top and tied teepee style for additional strength. Trellises may be constructed of cane supported by wire on top, string woven between top and bottom wires, or from nylon netting. Tomatoes respond especially well to vertical culture since many of the fruit may rot if they touch the ground. Tomatoes are usually supported by 5 or 6 foot stakes or a trellis. Use stakes at least 1.5 inches square and drive them a foot or more into the ground. Plants are pruned 1 or 2 stems and tied loosely to the support at 8 to 12 inch intervals. A second method of supporting tomatoes is with wire cages constructed from concrete reinforcing wire. Cages should be 20 to 22 inches in diameter, which requires a 6 foot length of wire bent into a circle. Firmly anchor each cage so it will not blow over. Cages may be anchored by tying them to stakes or by tying them to a wire that is attached to posts at each end of a row of cages. Set a single tomato plant in each cage. Allow the plant to grow without pruning. Push the ends back into the cages as they grow out. Harvest fruit by reaching through the mesh. Grow caged cucumbers like caged tomatoes, but use a 10-foot length of concrete reinforcing wire. This will make a 3-foot diameter cage that will probably not need anchoring. Plant cucumbers 6 to 10 inches apart around the outside of the cage. Push the growing vine tips into the cage until they begin to climb. A small hollow in the center of the cage makes a convenient place to fertilize and water the cucumbers. The benefits of this system include more fruit, an extended harvest season, increased ease of harvesting, and reduced disease pressure.
And I feel like New York City. Get me to the farm.